All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Prescription for Better Living podcast. Of course, I am Dr. Hernando Carter, your board certified internal medicine physician, primary care extraordinaire, and welcome to the Prescription for Better Living podcast, where we cover all things health and wellness in a hip and relatable way. Today, we have a special guest with us, and I am so excited because she is our very first guest to join us on the podcast. Before I get into that, though, and introduce her to everyone, I got to plug my son again, Ellis Carter, who produced that song for us, Extraordinaire. Follow him on all of your streaming platforms. He is E. Casanova with a new song out recently called Fallen. And we just found out that he's got a little fan out there who listened to his song Fallen every morning before she goes to school while she's up getting ready. So go stream him, check him out. He's on all your streaming platforms. But today, on this episode, we are continuing our conversation about just alternative ways to access primary care. And we talked about the traditional care model, which is like the fee for service model. We started introducing some concepts about subscription primary care or primary care by subscription to include concierge, VIP, and DPC, direct primary care. And we talked a little bit about value-based care. But today we have a very good friend of mine, full disclosure. We've been knowing each other for a very long time. And she is a phenomenal physician who just so happens to be practicing in the realm of DPC or direct primary care. So we have Dr. Kre Johnson. She is a board certified family medicine physician practicing here in Birmingham, Alabama, but she has roots in the Black Belt of Alabama. She's a graduate of Spelman College. So here we go with that Spell House love. Spelman, one of the best HBCUs out there, I believe, still maybe ranked number one HBCU in the land. And she got her bachelor's degree from Spelman and then attended a post-bac program at SIU in Carbondale, Illinois. Got her DO degree, her medical degree at Kansas City University of Medicine and Biosciences in Kansas City, Missouri, and completed her family medicine residency at St. Vincent's East Hospital here in Birmingham. And we'll get into a little bit more of her story about her practice transitions, but she is now the owner, operator, entrepreneur, healthcare exec at Brownstone Healthcare. She lives in Trustville. She's married to my Morehouse brother, Jay Johnson, and has two children, London and Zoe, and two dogs, Apollo and Easy. That's Dr. Kre. So you can follow her, y'all. Her socials, Instagram are Dr. Kre, DOCTOR Kre, KRE. And website is brownstonehealthcare.com. Check out brownstonehealthcare.com on their website. You can learn more about her practice because maybe, just maybe, especially hopefully after this conversation, you may decide that, hey, subscription medicine, primary care, direct primary care is for me. You can find out about her practice and how to join. And then also you may be looking for some wellness type things, and she's got some wonderful supplements and everything on there. So check that out. I used to see where you did some kind of lower rejuvenation for women. You had some yoni stuff and all that.
You got that going.
So hey, so you can go and take care of the toot ladies. She can help with that. So check out Dr. Kre because of course, primary care, but she is into the wellness arena as well, and she is a speaker. She does a women's empowerment conference for busy professional wives and moms. And so she's kind of leading in that realm about how you have a balanced life and balanced marriage and everything and still be fulfilled. So that's a little bit about Dr. Kre. And so hopefully you can understand why I invited her on today. So Dr. Kre, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. That lavish introduction. It could have been 2 minutes. Dr.
Oh
Carter was there
no,
when my baby Zoe was born. He was like the very first person to meet Zoe. So we have a very unique bond. So thank you so much for having me.
absolutely. Yeah. So the story of that is when they had Snowmageddon in Birmingham, we both were on call.
Hmm.
Well, I was on call. I think she was just working
I
at the
was
hospital,
stranded. I was stranded.
stranded.
Yeah.
And we were all sleeping all everywhere across the hospital. And then I get this text message that Zoe's on the way. I
Yep.
said,
That's
what?
all
And
right.
so I think I was the first person
He's the
to
first person to meet Zoe.
meet Zoe. Yeah, Jay got into a wreck trying to get to the hospital, if I
Trying to get
recall.
there. I almost
Um,
got into one. Yep. So it was
yeah, so
amazing. Hmm.
that was yeah, so great memories.
Yes.
Great memories. So, Dr. Kre, why don't you just tell us a little bit about brownstone? What is brownstone? Where did the idea come from? The concept, and just take us through kind of how your practice has evolved, over the years to where you are now.
So I, like you said, I did my residency at St. Vincent's East, and from there, I wanted to start my own practice. So me and another physician together at that time, we opened our own traditional primary care office, which means you're seeing patients in the hospital and you're seeing patients in the clinic. And we soon learned that there was a whole lot. There was a whole lot to be trying to do. And 6 months of working every single day, either in the clinic or the hospital or both, and I came out of my office one day, and who was sitting there, y'all, but Dr. Carter. And he was like, you can't continue to do this. So he was transitioning in his practice to doing hospital only. And then I began to transition to do clinic only. So it was perfect. So he
Mhm,
sent all of his patients my way. So I was able to send my patients his way. And also at that time, it was unheard of for anybody to be doing that because you did both of those. It was just
mhm,
understood. So I was able to go to the hospital execs at that time and say there has to be another window for us to fit in. So then they were like, oh, we've not done this before, but they changed the bylaws and made it such
mhm.
that you could now use what you guys know now as a
That's
hospitalist.
Federalist, that's right.
So we started seeing the people there, and that worked. So after me and my then partner she decided to go on to do other things. I'm like, I had a void because I had now all of these patients. I had Dr. Carter's patients, I had my patients, I had her patients. I'm like, what am I gonna do? So I ended up going and starting to do the nursing home. I took a whole nother job, working that. And at the time, my baby was maybe about 3 or 4. And you thinking
Mhm,
your kids aren't really paying attention to the amount of time that you're gone. You're trying to build a good life. And I remember one night I was getting ready to go to the nursing home. She says, "But you're leaving again." And I said, "Yeah, I'm leaving again." And I didn't, and it just stuck with me that she
mhm,
was 3 or 4, and it's gonna make a big difference eventually.
mhm,
You know what I'm saying? It's gonna make a
mhm,
big difference. So not too long after that, I went on and retired from the nursing home, and I mean retired so that I can go back when she gets bigger. But then I started realizing I'm seeing 35 people a day, and that's taxing. Even though I wasn't going into the hospital, the days are still long. You trying to figure this out. And then I heard about direct primary care. At the time, we only had one other doctor in town that was doing it, Dr. Nova Law.
mhm,
She's the Birmingham pioneer for direct primary care.
mhm,
And so I went to a conference in Florida, heard all about it, and made the decision that I wanted to be more available for my family, for my kid, and wanted to make this transition out. So that's how
mhm.
I got from regular fee for service to direct primary care.
Yeah. And so I'm glad you took us through that because on one of our, really two of our previous episodes, we talked about the demands that are on physicians
Mhm.
and why those demands exist.
Right.
And we talked about how there's certainly a doctor shortage in our country,
Hmm.
but there's a significant primary care shortage. And
Yes.
so, there's just more patients out there than there are primary care doctors. And because of that, we talked about the long days, we talked about double booking, and
The
double
burnout.
yeah, double booking is more like a survival, tactic than it is anything else, which, all of that leads to burnout
Hmm.
because you're running from patient to patient. Like you said, 35 patients a day. When you're able to give them what, 10 minutes, 15 tops.
Hmm.
And most people who go into primary care do so because they value relationships with their patients, and they want to be able to give their patients the best they got. And
Hmm.
when you're running from patient to patient like that, you just can't do it. And so, like I said, it leads to a few things. Some folks leave primary care
Hmm.
and do something else, or they just quit medicine altogether, or they do things like you
To
did.
get creative.
Yeah, let's come up with another way that I can still take care of patients, deliver care,
Hmm.
and deliver the kind of care that I feel my patients need,
Correct.
and I can have a balanced life,
Yes.
right? So you chose direct primary care. So talk to us about what that transition was like first. Like when you were in traditional practice, fee for service, how many patients did you have before you transitioned your care model?
I had about 2,500 to 20 to 3,000, somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000 people at the practice at that point. And so
Mhm.
you make that announcement that you're leaving, and everyone falls apart. Like, what are we gonna do? We just left Dr. Carter just left, and we just
Mhm.
got you for a couple of years. So,
Mhm.
and you're like, but this is something I have to do for my, for your mental health. And
Mhm.
so statistically, that when I had gone through learning about direct primary care, they told us that you would only keep about 20% of your people. So I knew that going in. So I said, well, maybe I'll continue to keep my Medicare. So I have a hybrid practice
Okay.
where I don't take commercial, but I do take Medicare. And
Okay.
so Medicare has all these strange rules. Blue Cross Blue Shield Medicare was like, no, you can't see our Medicare at all if you're not going to see our commercial. And so then there were others like Viva, Cigna. They didn't care. They were like, "Oh, that's fine." Well, so I continue to keep those people and transition a lot of my other people to Viva
Mhm.
or Cigna because
Mhm.
they wouldn't bother me. They let me do whatever I want to from the commercial side of it,
Mhm.
and I could continue to see them. So that was kind of how I was able to kind of stay afloat because you talking about 2,500 or 250, even though you get to spend the time, I'm still in private practice. I still got overhead. You know what I'm saying? Still got
Right.
bills to pay. So at that same time, I changed locations. I moved to a smaller practice, and then I cut my staff. So I only had like two staff. So I went to what we call a micro practice. So
Gotcha.
a lot of people doing several different jobs. So that
Mhm.
was kind of how the transition was. A lot of questions like, why would you leave your good Blue Cross? You got this good insurance. And I was like, but I was a slave to Blue Cross. Every
Right.
Wednesday, I needed that Blue Cross money. And I was like, I
Mhm.
didn't go into this to be a slave to anyone. I
Right.
came to help people. And from there, it took a lot of education, lots and lots of education, lots of conversation for people to see I can come with you. But
Mhm.
who we focus on, Dr. Carter, is not just the uninsured, because people think that's who needs to come. So we're looking at underinsured, so people that have high deductible plans that
Mhm.
you're gonna pay out of pocket every time you go to the doctor anyway. So you
Mhm.
might as well, our fee is $70 a month. You pay that
Okay.
whether you come or not.
Okay.
And so you have direct access to me. So they can text me directly, text my team directly. So a
Mhm.
lot of that you can't necessarily do if you got, you in
You're
regular.
right.
Exactly. So we say, hey, it's $70 a month. Now, if you don't pay your fee for 3 months, we're gonna stop seeing you. So we had those kind of rules in place because seventy
Mhm.
dollars is not a whole lot. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so from there, we're like, we'll see you. And then if you're underinsured, if you don't have any insurance, or if you have regular insurance and you just want that direct access to the doctor, the majority of my people still have insurance. They just want that.
Yeah. And that's what I try to explain to everybody, that, um, first of all, and you correct me if I say anything wrong,
Mm-hmm.
I tried to explain that when doctors decide to change to this kind of practice, whether it be direct primary care, whether it be, VIP or whatever, it's not a money grab.
Mm-mm.
And those subscriptions that you pay really help make up the difference from going from 2,500, 3,000 patients to 250, 300, 400 patients.
Mm-hmm.
It is really about covering overhead.
That's
Because
it.
when you go into that kind of practice, then you are a business owner and you got bills to pay. You got to pay staff, you got to
Mm-hmm.
pay the rent, got to keep the lights on. And then after all that's done, then you get to take home a salary. And
Yep. If
so,
it's anything left.
right. So it's not a money grab, but you
Mm-mm.
still have to find a way to make up the difference in terms of those number of patients. A, and then B, you have to still, you still have to take care of people, and that takes time, that takes energy and effort, and the level of access that they're getting with you,
Mm-hmm.
especially in today's typical
Society.
medical practice, it's unheard of.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
doctors don't have the time to text their patients
Mm-hmm.
because when you're jumping from room to room and then you got to answer the questions from the staff and you have to review labs and x-rays and you
And
got
the portal messages, they
paper,
send
oh
the
yeah,
messages.
patient. I mean, you just don't have time. So,
Mm-hmm.
you're talking about being able to have better access to your doctor,
Mm-hmm.
being able to have less utilization of the urgent care and ER because you
Mm-hmm.
have patients when they're sick, they can actually come to your office.
Yeah.
And you're looking at more time spent. So if I have a complicated medical problem, I have out of control diabetes, then you have more time to spend with me
Yes.
to
Mm-hmm.
help me get things under control and kind of walk me through it, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. All of that is correct. You can spend more time. I don't see now more between if I see 12 to 15 people in a day, that's a very busy day.
Gotcha.
So I try and keep it so I can spend the time. If you need more time, I have the time. If you
Hmm.
like, I'm just in and out, we can be in and out, but we block the time so that we can. No one feels rushed. I don't feel rushed, and the patient doesn't feel rushed at the end of the encounter.
Hmm.
And then if you like, I forgot to say something, you can send me a message. And I set realistic boundaries. I always get the question of where you're on call and the person is going to be calling you, how is that going to be? And I'm like, well, I say, I got Zoe, I got Jay, I normalize because we taking care of family, like these
Hmm.
people are family by this point. And they like, okay, it's dinner time, so we'll wait for you to call back, or I'm not refilling medicine in the middle of the night. So we use a lot of common sense and discretion in
Hmm.
that regard. So, and the patients don't seem to abuse it. They appreciate the fact that they can get you. So if they're texting, it's something very important that they need to.
Yeah. Yeah. So, right. And so you have the subscription fee, right?
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm,
you mentioned something. So with direct primary care, you are not billing their insurance.
mm-mm. I don't bill the insurance, and they do not pay a co-payment when they come in with me.
Hmm.
So the
Hmm.
only thing we use their insurance for labs, and then if they go see a specialist, we send a referral with the insurance on there. If they do not have insurance, we try and price out people and say, hey, we know you can get this at this rate with this doctor. So we
Hmm.
try and have a lot of, we know you can get the imaging here for
Hmm.
this rate. So we try and do a lot of the leg work. So if you are uninsured or underinsured and you got a high deductible, we say don't even go through the PA process or the prior authorization process. Just go pay cash over here because you can get it for cheap.
Gotcha. And so, and I'm gonna tell you what got me on this topic is I was traveling and I got a text message from a former patient.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about the primary care shortage, especially in Birmingham. And
Mm-hmm.
then there are even fewer African American primary care doctors.
Correct.
So most African American primary care doctors are busy, busy, busy.
They're for real busy.
So right. And so I left what was a traditional model. I was at a academic practice, but it was in a traditional model, and I moved to a value-based care model to take care of
Mhm.
seniors. But it's kind of similar numbers as far as DPC or concierge medicine. But
Mhm.
I have all these patients out here who are looking for primary care doctors.
Yes.
And so I had a former patient that found somebody that they really liked. And then this doctor
Left too, probably.
decided to go to DPC, right?
Right.
Well, he texted me all in a panic. I gotta find a new doctor. I won't, but had all these, I needed to be, not too old. I need him to
Mhm.
be African American. I need him to have good bedside manner. And I said, so, because my doctor is leaving and going to DPC, and I don't, we got insurance, we got Blue Cross, so I don't see why I gotta pay a monthly fee on top of my insurance. And so I just asked a few questions. I said, did you like your doctor? Yes. Did you trust your doctor? Yes. Did you have every confidence that your doctor was doing the best thing for you? Yes. If your doctor was still staying in the same kind of practice, would you want to stay with that doctor? Yes. Okay.
Mhm.
So maybe you should consider just going with that doctor to the DPC practice. And here's
Mhm.
what I said. Don't look at it like you're paying above something above insurance. That's not
Mhm.
what you're paying for. You're paying for access.
Mhm.
And because this doctor is going from 3,000 patients to 200 patients, you're helping that doctor make up the difference as
Mhm.
far as that revenue to help cover overhead. You're on a couple of blood pressure medicines, you go to the doctor regularly, you'll have more access, you'll be able to spend more time, so think about it that way. And
Mhm.
that's when I said, you know what? There's not a lot of primary care doctors out here. And with the shift that's happening in medicine, people are really doing themselves a disservice if they take this option off the table,
Yes.
if they can afford it. Now, everybody can't afford it, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But if you can afford it, why not invest in your health, right? Invest in yourself.
Mhm.
So, for those patients, so you had patients that went with you from the traditional practice
Mhm.
to the DPC.
Right.
How did those patients handle the change, and what was their opinion of it? I mean, were they more, positive about it, or
Mhm.
what was it?
So at that point, the ones that were transitioning with me, they were like what you just said. I trust my doctor. I believe in my doctor. I don't want anybody else to take care of me. We've been together for 7, 8 years by that point. And so I think that that was the selling point. That was the selling point for them. And they weren't complaining about the price. They were like, "Oh, that's all it is." And
Mhm,
at that point, I was like, "It's gonna be cheaper than it's gonna be cheaper than your cell phone bill. It's gonna be
mhm,
cheaper than almost any bill that you that you have. If we
mhm,
go out to eat and drink, we're gonna spend $70. So it's
mhm,
like when you look at that, and then we have it to where it's automated every month, kind of thing. And then I'm like, you have my number. Now, if you choose not to use my number and you decide to
mhm,
call the office every time, that's gonna be on you. I'm
mhm,
like, but you have access to me
mhm,
because of that. So they were, and
mhm,
then I had patients that were mad and didn't leave, and then a year or two later, they signed up for the plan. And they're like, we
mhm,
can't find anybody else, so we might as well come on over here, kind of thing. So I think that in medicine, you're right. We're pivoting to a greater extent. We are tired. There's a lot going on out there. We want to give good care, and you want to have some kind of control over that. And the way
mhm,
we were going, you didn't have any control in
mhm.
35 people a day.
So let's think about this. So $70 a month, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's less than $1,000 per year.
Yep.
And when they see you, they
Mm-hmm.
don't pay a copay when they come for
Mm-hmm.
the visit.
Okay.
Is there a limit to the number of visits they can have per year?
No, there's not a limit for me. There's no limit to the number of visits. There's not a limit to the number of text messages, so we can see them every week if they wanted to,
Mhm.
so there's no limit. And some practices limit that. The only thing I'll be limiting is the max amount of people we'll be having, because I don't want people to feel overwhelmed. And we're at maybe 400, 400 people, because people
Mhm.
are still, we're in the South and they're like, they good Blue Cross. I'm like, but you haven't been to a doctor in a year, or you going to
Mhm.
the urgent care for your doctor the visits, and you're still
Mhm.
complaining or whatever. But no, it's no limit.
Okay, that makes economic sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Especially the text feature, because they can text in a world of telehealth now. Post COVID, they'll call and say, "I got this, 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 this." I'm like, "Oh, that's send me a picture of it." "Oh, girl, you got shingles. Here, your medicine is already sent to the pharmacy. You don't even have to come in." A lot of stuff we can treat by hearing the symptoms, and I'm like, "Okay, now upload me the picture. Are we good?"
So let's say, for example, you got somebody who is diabetic, type 2 diabetic, right? So that's going to be at least 3 or 4 visits a year right there.
Mm-hmm.
Then you throw in, a few sick visits here and there, or they have issues. I mean, if you think about it, and all they're paying is the $70 per month.
That's all I pay.
I mean, the maths for that.
Exactly. Exactly. It
And
does.
then you offer other services at your practice too. So
Mm-hmm.
let's say I'm your patient, right? And I'm seeing you for primary care. But I'm open to, other wellness services or other,
Mm-hmm.
what else you got to offer me that I could get?
We do weight loss there, so a lot of people are looking at that as an option. So we do the phentermine. If they want to
Mhm,
come just for that, they don't have to be in the program for that. You can come for that. We do blood type diet. I don't know if you've
mhm,
heard of that, but
mhm,
there's a whole subset of that, and we get their blood type, and then we start them on the program, follow
mhm,
them with that. Of course, we have like the Yonis themes. We have
mhm,
lots of things that we try, and of course, I got the supplements. So
mhm,
we have all of that, and then I'm always about a pivot. So if something else coming down the pipeline, I'm like, "Oh, let's try that. Y'all want to do
mhm,
that?" Kind of thing.
mhm,
So it is so many different things that you can have just by being in community and in relationship with our
mhm,
direct primary care office.
mhm. And so for you, how has the shift been for you? Do you have any regrets?
I don't have any regrets. It happened right at the start of the pandemic when we made the
Mhm,
transition.
mhm,
So I didn't have all these people that I was trying to figure out how to pay. I was able to I had two staff members, two and a half staff, and we went to 2 days a week. We did clinic two
mhm,
days a week. They brought their kids to work. I mean, it was a blessing for the staff that we had, because we were in the middle of a pandemic and we kind of needed to still go to work.
mhm,
But you didn't want your kids to go. So my kid was coming to school, the babies was coming. We had a little space for them. So it was a blessing, the timing of it. And since then, we've been approached by companies that are self-insured. So they're self-insured, so they pay for everything that you're doing. Yeah, you got insurance, but you don't know how much your employer is paying for all that you
mhm,
pay your $50 for every 2 weeks, but they might be paying $100 for you every time. So we were approached by the city of Birmingham to take on their employee health clinic because they're self-insured. So the more people that come to our clinic saves the employer money, so they can give you money in other ways, or reinvest that money. So
mhm,
we've had several partner with several companies to kind of help in that regard. So if they're small businesses and they want to give their employees some kind of stipend, they send them to us. So they say, "Hey, we'll give you $100 a month. That allows you to pay your fee with Dr. Kre. That allows you to pay for your labs if we're not giving you any insurance, because we discount the labs. So if
mhm,
you send your stuff to Quest may charge you $150 for all these labs. Well, we can get the labs for $30 for
mhm,
everything." So we've negotiated a lot of prices for, if you're tired of spending the money, you can come to us, get those labs, and save
mhm.
overall.
Huh. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So how is this model with the DPC, how is it different than, these other like VIP concierge practices out here?
So a lot of the VIP places, they actually still bill your insurance. You pay that fee. That's one big difference. And then the fee is like $1,500 a year or something
Or
like that,
more.
or more, and you still are only seeing the doctor, no more frequently than what they see me. And a lot of times they have stipulations on how often and how much you can be seen. They're
Mm-hmm.
not gonna get that direct access, so they're not gonna be able to text the doctor. You just have the ability to say, I'm a VIP, patient or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So I think that we make it to where we're taking out that middleman. I say that my direct primary care is the regular person's concierge model. Like any person can afford. I see kids don't like their pediatrician or they about to age out, but that's $25. If they're in high school, it's $35 if they're in college. So we have like a tiered model. If you
Mm-hmm.
bring your whole family, we kind of discount it. So it's a lot cheaper than that model. And I think it's more homelier because we are, once again, we're doing that family. We for real family, because
Mm-hmm.
you can find me wherever I
Right.
am. You can text me.
Right. And that's a big difference as far as the fees, like you said. I mean, I did some research, and really, a lot of these practices now for the VIP, straight VIP practices, it may be 250 to 300 or more per month
Mm-hmm.
to be a member of that practice. And like you said, still, bill insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, absolutely. And then as far as your patients, I mean, I know we've already talked about the positive aspect as far as advantages of patients. Do you see any disadvantages to a patient coming to this kind of model?
What I have run into lately is if they're insured and they have to have a provider's name on the card. So
Mm,
I'm technically not in network with Blue Cross Blue Shield, which is
mm-hmm.
interesting because I'm like, you got these MD VIP, or the VIP people, and they run your insurance. I'm trying to keep from, that kind of thing, but we're not in network with them. So we used to can say, call over to such and such office and see them once a year for your wellness, because we had a lot of relationships with a lot of African American doctors. But
Mm-hmm.
now we're like, oh, where can we send them? Because they have to have a name. That's who's gonna have to do their referrals. They're like some people who have the uh Obamacare. That's not what it's called now. What is it? What is it called now?
Uh, yeah, Affordable Care Act.
Affordable care
Mhm,
insurance. So all of them have to have a provider's name. So when we run
mhm,
into that, we're like, well, that's where you need to get your labs. That's where you need to do your once a year appointments, whoever's on your card. But they still continue to come to the practice because they're like, I still want to be able to access. I can't get in touch with them. I don't really know that person. I know you're gonna return my call. So that's been the biggest glitch that we've started to run into lately.
gotcha, gotcha. Okay, so but no, uh, no insurmountable type of uh, challenges for people to have to
Mhm.
overcome. So,
No,
well,
nothing
look,
that we can't find an answer to. We go and do the
yeah,
research and say how we can
yeah.
help.
Well, I tell you what, this has been informative, even for me, and I'm sure eye-opening for a lot of our viewers and listeners. So again, if you are interested in, exploring direct primary care, you can certainly search direct primary care online, but we got somebody right here in the flesh, brownstonehealthcare.com with Dr. Kre. Check her out, especially before she gets, too full and starts, cutting off, and
Closing
then you be
down.
on the wait list. So go holler at Dr. Kre. Check her out on all of her socials. Her Instagram is Dr. Kre, DoctorKre, and then you have a website just that's separate from the Brownstone website, Dr. Kre.
Yeah, I got a Dr. Kre website. It's www.drkre, spell everything is spelled doctor out,
Mm-hmm.
drkre.com. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's where all the fun stuff happening. So my
Mm-hmm.
supplements are there, but all the women's the speaking and all of that is
Mm-hmm.
there too.
Well, okay. Well, go ahead and plug your conference because I follow along. I feel some kind of way because I can't come to the conference.
We'll
Um,
have husbandology. So we have
but
wifeology. I've been
yes,
doing it, yes, wifeology since 2017. We party with a purpose. We have working wives from all over the country that come. We had been in Birmingham for several years. The last 2 years we've gone outside of the state. We'll be in Nashville June 7th through the 9th. It's actually sold out this year. So we
okay,
are looking forward to pouring into women. A lot of women, the husbands think they're going away to learn all these wifely things, and the wife comes back and is like, no, we're gonna I'm gonna use shift, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. So we're learning how to prioritize our time, learning how to make more time at home, because you can delegate a lot of things that women aren't thinking about. So all of the speakers are board certified physicians, but they do something fun on the side. Our DJ is an ER doctor that
wow.
comes from Houston. So it's a lot of fun. And we have about 70 women coming this year, and we're looking forward to it.
Awesome. And that's Wifeology, and they can
Mhm.
find that on your
The Dr.
website,
Kre page, on the Dr. Kre.
drkre.com.
Mhm.
And so, find out about Wifeology. Like I said, June is already sold out.
Yep.
So, look for the Wifeologies in the future. And did you mention that there's a husbandology?
That's why I said we
Mm,
need a husbandology.
okay.
And every year I say, y'all want to bring our husbands. They like, no, leave them at home with the kids. So
I know
something
that's
happens.
right.
I'm trying. Every year I'm like, we can do some
Uh-oh.
couples. They
Yeah,
like,
no,
nope.
no, no, they don't want us there. No, they don't want us there. Nope, nope, nope. They don't want us there. They don't want us.
They're like, no. So
Well,
yeah.
Dr. Cree, thank you so much
Yes,
for
thank you for having me.
coming on and sharing your expertise and your experiences. And again, all the best to you and Brownstone
Mhm.
Healthcare and Wifeology and all the things that you're doing. And everybody, if you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to do a few things for me. Like the video, subscribe to the podcast, share it with someone you know. Comments, you can take comments down. I will respond to your comments even after you viewed and the episode has aired. They'll remain live. If you have questions, you want to contact the show, you can email us at contact@rx4betterliving.org. That's contact the number 4 at rx the number 4betterliving.org. Or you can just comment and I'll reply and everything. So again, Prescription for Better Living podcast, covering all things health and wellness in a hip and hopefully you can say relatable way. Dr. Hernando Carter, your primary care extraordinaire. We're going to take it out to this beat again, produced by my son Ellis. Remember to follow him. He's streaming on all of your streaming platforms, Casanova with his song Fallen. But this is just a little beat that he put together for his dad. Until next time, Dr. Cree and Dr. Carter out.